The XRP Army says hello again on the Crypto ZX channel. Thank you all for the love you've been sending my way. Where have I been in the last week? Just wanted to take a short break to say thanks to everyone who has reached out. It means a lot to me. We're back on track. That being said, guys, if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Press the red subscribe button to get a message every time we post something. When you look at the market as a whole, the wide market is actually up right now. There are a few coins that are experiencing a small drop in value, but let's look at the bigger picture. The price of an extra piece has dropped about 0.3% in the last 24 hours in both USD and Bitcoin terms. The price is below $3 right now at about $2.98 when we recorded this update, valued at $178 billion, and the trade volume over 24 hours at about $3 billion. As always, a quick disclaimer, nothing on this channel is meant to be taken as financial advice. As with any investment, you should always do your own study before putting money into crypto. Let's look at some of the news from today, but remember that the FOMC met last Wednesday and the rate was lowered by 25 basis points. Also, I know that a lot of people don't understand why prices aren't just going up. Take a look at the weekly period to see what we're seeing right now. The market as a whole seems to be going down instead of up. That's why sell the news story that's happening. If you read my updates every day until the FOMC meeting, I did say that we were already priced in for the 25 BPS event. As you might expect, some people in the crypto world were guessing whether or not the Feds would do a 50 BPS instead of a 25 BPS. It's clear that if that were true, it wouldn't have been priced in. We're actually seeing a small drop, but look at the bigger picture over a month. In fact, many people have already forgotten about this, but we don't want to forget it. When you look at the market as a whole, we are still going up. It goes without saying that I'll give you a better picture when I get the XRP charts out. As always, I want to make it clear that nothing on this channel is meant to be taken as financial advice. As with any investment, you should always do your own study before putting money into crypto. Since the rate cut, the market value of all cryptocurrencies has gone down by $60 billion. But since September 1st, it has also gained about $270 billion. It's been about 4 days since the rate cut, and we've seen a drop of about $60 billion. But we need to see the bigger view. Bitcoin says a lot of things. It tells us what's going on. We've gained $270 billion since the start of the month. The fact that people have already forgotten about that is something I will keep reminding you of. Look at the bigger picture instead of the shorter time frame. Moving on, the wisdom tree says that if there is a supply shock for XRP before Bitcoin, Bitcoin should hit its maximum supply of 21 million units around the year 2140. That year and the next few years should see the most XRP ever made. A lot of people are going to say, well, that's totally different. Of course, you're mining Bitcoin, and you know what? When XRP is opened, things will be very different, which is true. A lot of XRP goes to the escrow wallet when it's opened, but that wallet, a lot of people don't get that it's meant to make the blockchain better. There is a huge chunk of that, and they do invest a huge chunk of that as well. If you've been following XRP, you should know that Ripple has major partnerships with companies that they're buying out. To be more specific, where do you think these guys are getting their money? It's coming from that, so they're growing the business, but they're also holding a lot of supply in an escrow wallet. It would be interesting to see if they could make an announcement or plan where they burn a big chunk of that. I think that would be a very, very strong thing to do. That's just a guess right now, but that would be pretty cool, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with that. Price points in the double digits, and even the triple digits are talked about. I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen. This is something I've said from the start. I think XRP will definitely reach a double-digit number, but I also think it will reach a triple-digit number. That's not true, guys. It won't happen right away. In contrast to its rivals, it needs XRP to be used, which is known as a record. A lot more people should use it. And of course, that's where I get to burn more and more of the bridge asset, which is XRP. The trust wallet is another important thing. If they decide to burn a big chunk of that, I think that could be a big deal. Really, an XRP price in the triple digits is possible. But for now, I think, we need to look at things from a reasonable point of view instead of an ideal one. But anyhow, look at what All Street Bet says about how people are buying the dip. People in retail are buying the dip, which is an old story. And Chad says, you know what? This will only last for a short time. After that, big banks will rush to buy these assets. And I'd like to share my own ideas on this. Take a look at the traffic numbers if you don't believe this is happening. Organizations are actually building up right now, and you might see a store sale during this dip. Of course, that's not true, and that is frustrating, but The big goal for institutions right now is to beat retail. I can say that they have already done that. Take a look at what's going on with BTC. Take a look at what's going on with Ethereum. A lot of businesses are raising money to add XRP to their balance sheets, even though the XRP ETF or pure spot ETF isn't live yet. As you all know, there's a lot going on right now, but I've noticed something from the comments. The larger XRP community knows this. They look at the bigger picture. Many other people don't see it that way. They just take a reasonable view. You just want the price to keep going up and stay in a straight line. It's not going to happen. This isn't a joke coin. This project is for a service, and even though it has had one of the best runs in the last 12 months, from now on, though, Coinbase only has 2 wallets with 32.8 million XRP in them. Since June 5th, this is 95% less than it was. That's a 95% drop this year when Coinbase had 970 million units, which is crazy to think about. A lot of the XRP that was saved on Coinbase is now leaving the platform. Also, that kind of suggests that self-custody is at play. But really, really interesting. What do you think is going on? Tell me below. Is this a great example of what a supply shock will look like? But look at this. The president of Ripple has confirmed that she will be at the roundtable meeting with the Senate Banking Committee. In terms of crypto market structure laws, XRP will be the core of the new financial system, as this post says. A lot of people could say, well, nothing is set in stone, which is true, but we need to pay more attention to the relationships that are being formed right now. And don't forget about the NDAs that Ripple has signed. A lot of people have already forgotten about them. That being said, know that those NDAs must be very important for them not to be made public, but I think that would be pretty cool if that did come out. I'm pretty sure you know that some of those NDAs are very strong. Again, time will show us what those really are, but know that they are already set in stone. That's not it. We're just making this up. That is the truth. These are papers that Ripple has put out there. But let's move on and look at this customer spotlight. So BACDS Korea, which is one of only 4 approved crypto custodians in South Korea, gives institutions safe access to XRP, RLUSD, and other tokenized assets held by none other than Ripple. I also told you that crypto is now becoming more popular. Several of these banks are getting the all clear from the government. But let me tell you something. A lot of these schools don't know how self-custody works, so they'd like leaders in the field who do know how it works to come help them out. This is where Ripple Custody comes in. Of course, this is just one example I'm giving you. Head over to Ripple's X account and read the whole thing if you want to know more. Very helpful for people who own XRP. That being said, let's look at the price of Bitcoin and see which one is the most popular. Even though control has gone up since our low point on September 13th, we're still only at 57.89% so far. That's great. Bitcoin is moving up in this way. It looks like we're above our proof zone. We got as high as 107,900 just 2 days ago. We're seeing a return to the beginning. It looks like we're in the weekend. When it comes to the price of XRP, we need to remember that. Look at this price for XRP. It's clear that they saw that wake up to 320, but don't think about that. Instead, think about where we were 2 days ago, $3.14. Since then, we've seen a drop of about 5%. You can see this free stuff. So nothing strange. In the $3 range, as you all know, that is a very important number. Also, I'd like to see the price go above that key range, but there is also a bit of a fight going on at that level between the bulls and the bears. So far, though, everything is going well. We're making good progress, and I'd love to see this monthly kind of close above $3. I believe that makes for a great start to the fourth quarter. Again, I think that more rate cuts could really get people excited in both the stock market and the cryptocurrency area. Tell me what you think in the comments. Thanks for all your help, and we'll see you soon. It was Crypt, Ozex, and goodbye.